Respected professors, eminent scientists, academicians, students, and my dear friends, brothers and sisters joining online from different parts of India and from around the world. A very, very good evening to all of you. Mayambu Khurumzari. I also wish you happy Gandhi Jayanti. Today is the 2nd October. We celebrate International Day of Non-Violence. We assembled today here on MS Team online platform for a webinar on SoO, suspension of operation. This topic is very much relevant to the continued suffering of people of Manipur, most importantly, poor people down the ladder of the society, farmers, young school and college going students, daily wage workers from all sections of Manipuri society. I, Vice President PIMMSAA, Pan India Manipur Meitei Scientists and Academicians Association, will take you through this event of August gathering. PIMMSAA is a group of Meitei scientists and academicians working in India in diverse fields of science and academic domains towards betterment of society and environment for positive changes through science, knowledge, and intellectual capital. And it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all, to thank you all for today's function.
Dear brothers and sisters, dear Kanglechars of Sanalibak, Manipur, good evening to all of you. Myself, Ranjan Kumar Singh Khaidem, and at the capacity of Honorary President of PIMMSAA, which is the short name of Pan India Manipuri Meitei Scientists and Academicians Associations, extend a very warm welcome to all of you, to all the participants, all the members of PIMMSAA, as well as, and the most importantly, the two eminent speakers, our Mr. Waja Khuraijam Athouba and Waja Dr. Arambam Noni, Associate Professor, DM University Imphal, and other invitees which are sitting across the country to have a very fruitful interactions of today's the web series sponsored and the arranged by PIMMSAA. Dear friends, I'm very happy to share with that this PIMMSAA is a very newly formed platform, and it was formed very recently in July 2023. Considering the compelling situation that is happening in our motherland, Manipur. I'm also happy to share with you that this PIMMSAA comprises of many scientists, academicians, like scientists belonging to almost every department, scientific departments of the Government of India, like Department of Atomic Energy, DRDO, Department of Space, and CSR, Department of Science and Technology, Geological Survey of India, and even the Central Groundwater Research Board. So we are very proud to say that we Meiteis, particularly communities, belong to each and every scientific departments under the central government, under the Union Government of India. And we are proud to be an Indian. And we are proud to be making our immense contribution for the development of the nations and India as a whole. Though we are very small in numbers, population-wise, but our contributions in the nation building and in the field of scientific and cultural and many other things, it can never be forgotten, it can never be ignored. Friends, the current situation in Manipur is very pathetic and is very much, sorry to say. Though PIMMSAA has a very long-term vision that one day probably this PIMMSAA will become a will try to make a very immense contribution in shaping the future generations of Manipur. Right now, we are concentrating mostly in providing the relief materials to those peoples affected by the present conflict, particularly in the field of education. Students who want to study, they don't have anything to study with them, neither in terms of books, no stationery, nothing. So PIMMSAA is right now focusing to provide all this facility to those students, particularly by giving school bags, stationery items, pens, etc. And this really work, what has been going on since August, it is a continuing process and continuing efforts by contributing voluntarily by all the members of PIMMSAA. Therefore, I will not take much time. That, dear friends, we have a very large task, we have a very really great task at hand to bring the normalcy in Manipur, so that each and every Manipuri, particularly the students, they can have a normal life, they can continue their study like any other students in every part of the country. The world has progressed so fast. Today, the whole world has become a small family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is the mantra of our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. And today, fortunately or unfortunately, the people, the current civilization, and the people in today's civilization has forgotten that the outdated idea of the beginning of the century still in their minds is very unfortunate. And we have to overcome all these difficulties and to take our state and the nation forward. So I am very happy to share on behalf of PIMMSAA that we are having two eminent speakers, and we will be doing a lot of fruitful discussion during the presentation given by these two eminent speakers. And also, I, on behalf of PIMMSAA, express our heartiest congratulations to Mr. Khuraijam Athouba, who had given a very strong presentation to the UN event regarding the present conflict in Manipur. So I request all of you to give applause to Mr. Khuraijam Athouba for his very straightforward and very strong and meaningful presentation, who had given on behalf of all Manipuris to the United Nations. Dear friends, today we are here, though we are sitting outside our Manipur, our Himalaya, and sitting across the different parts of the countries, but we may not be meeting physically, but our moral and mentality, everything with the fellow Congolese for the Manipuris throughout these difficult times. And we will be continuing to show whatever the efforts and whatever the contribution we can make to make our motherland Manipur to regain its past glory. So I will not take much time. So at the end, I welcome to everybody, all the two eminent speakers, all the members, and all the invitees who are joining this program from outside, other than the PIMMSAA members and any other academicians or whoever it is. And it is a warm welcome to PIMMSAA site. And I'm very sure that we will have a very fruitful discussion today, and which will be definitely sharing for the bigger audience through YouTube channels. So with these few words, I once again thank you, all of you, for sparing your valuable time and joining this program online. So next, I pass on the mic to Jasubindro, please. Thank you.
Mr. Khuraijam Athouba, presently living in Nagamapal, Imphal, is a Vice President of International Peace and Social Advancement, IPSA, and is a spokesperson, COCOMI, Coordination Committee on Manipur Integrity, former General Secretary, UCM United Club, Manipur, founder convener of Justice Committee of Anglo-Manipuri War 1891, founder convener Mau Imphal Market Coordination Committee. He did his post-graduation from Sikkim Manipal University in Information Technology, and also he has another master's degree in Political Science from Indira Gandhi National Open University at Manipur University Center. So with this, I request Mr. Athouba to give his lecture on this historical aspect of tripartite agreement between Government of India, Manipur government, and the Kuki armed groups in Manipur. So over to you, Mr. Athouba.
A very good evening to all the esteemed guests and members present here in PIMSAA. I think, first of all, I would like to thank PIMSAA for having me in this talk show. And I felt really honored and happy to learn that the scientist community and the intellectual communities from across the globe and within the country has known me and recognized my little contribution that I have been giving. And I really thank for having me here once again. I think as per the topic given regarding this talk show, it's on understanding and knowing suspension of operations. Yeah, this is one of the key points or key factor in the recent crisis, and that is why I also try to highlight in the international platform wherever I got the opportunity. If we look at the, if we want to understand SoO, we need to have a little background on the genesis of suspensions of operation. Suspension of operations, it's just a name, different name, but with the same idea as in the peace talks carried out by the government of India with the Naga insurgent groups, the NSN IM and the NSNs. So they just to have some difference in name so that it can be easily identified that they give a different name, a different nomenclature called suspensions of operation. And the idea remains the same. It's a kind of political dialogue or the political negotiations between the armed groups and the government of India. However, in both, even though the policy remains the same in generally, the intention or the purpose of these two different peace policy initiated by government of India is different. As per my experience and as per my understanding, the peace talk between the government of India and the NSN IM is completely, based on sincere political dialogue and political negotiations between the groups. Whereas when it comes to the suspension of operation with the armed Kuki militant groups, as per my understanding, it is not just a peace policy to restore peace or to initiate a political dialogue so that the militant groups can be brought into the mainstream and give a settled life, a peaceful life. That is not the actual intention on the part of suspension of operation. Before concluding that very idea of suspension of operation and the intent of the government of India, let's just have a brief background check on the genesis as per the timeline of the incident. In the year 1993, the very new the emergence of Kuki militant groups or the Kuki insurgent groups or the Kuki armed groups was first witnessed around 1993. And in the year 1995, I think as per our source, there were around 25 armed groups within the Kuki communities. And in total today, if we count the names that of several armed groups that we have, it comes to around 43 armed groups, just belonging to the Chin, Kuki, Mijo, Jomi, Mar, these groups. Today, they have consolidated under one simple nomenclature, which they recently named it as Kuki Zhou community. But actually, it is Chin, Kuki, Mizo, Jomi, Mar. These are the different tribes or kind of different groups that belongs to broadly Kuki communities. So when the first initiative of suspending operations happened in 1995, it was the military decision. The Assam Rifle took the initiatives. We are yet to ascertain whether that very initiative was carried out under the instruction of the Ministry of Home Affairs or not. It's yet to be ascertained. But this is a fact that the Assam Rifles had a unilateral or kind of bilateral ceasefire agreement unofficially with the armed militant groups in Manipur, especially in the India-Myanmar border areas and many other, several other Kuki-dominated or inhabited areas. The irony is when that peace talk or kind of ceasefire agreement or kind of deal was initiated, there isn't any reports of incidents where the armed Kuki militant groups had ever ambushed or attacked or killed any of the Indian military personnel ever. So there isn't any question of intimidation. There wasn't any question of situations or circumstances where those militant groups had become a threat to the sovereignty or to the law and order situation in Manipur at large. So why did they initiated that ceasefire with the armed militant group is a big question mark still today, which they have to answer it at any cost. What was the pretext of initiating ceasefire agreement deal with the armed militant groups who had never even attacked on the Indian militaries? Number one point. Number two, there was a bilateral agreement between the Assam Rifles and the Kuki militant groups in a very clandestine manner. So the state government has no official report or no official confirmation of that very agreement by that time. Then what happens? The state government and its state security forces keep continuing its policy of counter-insurgency activities, movements, or actions being taken up by the state government. So there was one incident that happened in around 1997 where some cadres of Kuki militants being shot at, being shooted, and being killed or arrested in somewhere in Tengnoupal districts. Because of that, there was a new problem erupted between the Indian security forces, central security forces, and the Kuki militant groups. So because of that, Manipur State Police Forces was not in the agreement officially. They have taken up actions against the Kuki militants movement and various activities. Later on, after that incident, in the following year in 1998, the central government, especially the Ministry of Home Affairs, had initiated a formal tripartite talks or the SoO agreement with the Kuki militants, bringing in the state government in the process, and that is where the first signing of the agreement the so-called tripartite talks between the state government, the central government, and the Kuki militant groups being officially formalized and announced. It must be on August 1st August or somewhere that in 1998. Subject to correction on the date, exact date. So that after that, the state forces has also, have no more, what do you say, power to engage with the Kuki militants groups against the Kuki militants movement, any sort of activities they carried out inside the territory of Manipur because of that agreement. And that is how this suspension of operation agreement first initiated. Then what happens? It was the same policy up to some extent when the peace talk between the Naga insurgent movement groups and the central government did happen in 1997. After that, the Assam Rifles and the cadres of the certain agreed groups, they started operating jointly in the hill areas, different places of the hill areas of Manipur, and they started operating against those groups who are not in the agreement with the government of India. So they have used or applied the same policy with the Kuki militants as a kind of, mercenary forces recruited by the government of India through their security agencies like the Assam Rifles, and they coordinated to work together and started operating counter-insurgency movement, insurgency activities in the hill areas of Manipur continuously since the signing of the formal agreement from 1998 till today. And they have succeeded up to a certain extent. They are able to flush out several militant groups, both from the Meiteis, both from among the Nagas, as well as from among the Kukis also, who are not in, in any formal agreement or talk or any process with the government of India. And they have been successfully, pushed out from the territory of inside the jurisdiction of the, state government and the central government. So that was the first intention that we understand, where the armed Kuki militants have been used as a mercenary force against the other militant groups, which the central forces of the government of India has successively failed to contain and control for the past 4 or 5 decades. But somehow they have succeeded in flushing them out, in sanitizing the territories of the state from those groups who are not in terms with the government of India. On the other side, taking due advantage of this nexus with the government of India and the kind of friendly atmosphere or the kind of friendly environment they had developed, the leaders at the center, the leaders who are sitting in New Delhi, they might not understand the nitty-gritty activities or all other form of, unofficial activities or the kind of understanding and the deals they have made on ground by the officials at the officers level. So what happens, as per the formal agreement they signed, they have identified certain areas where the designated camps of the Kuki militants being identified and confirmed to established designated camps and noted camps. I hope our viewers in this meeting must have come across some of the maps of Manipur where designated camps of the Kuki militants being, identified and spotted in a very ring format surrounding the entire valley areas of Manipur. I can share you after this, I will share you to one of the admin of this group, the photo, which can be shared to the whole viewers, that it was quite obvious. If you look at that map, every designated camps of the Kuki militant groups are being planted and established surrounding the entire valley areas of Manipur. It is nothing but to check the movement of other insurgent groups who are not in good terms with the government of India, to restrict them from the access or their operation to the Imphal Valley, to the Manipur Valley, as well as to beyond the border region. One recent report, news report from myanmarnews.org, www.myanmarnews.org, has revealed that in that news report, it was revealed that one of the TDF. Adik, someone Newton tambilin no ini angang lang itu. Okay. In that very news report, it is being reported that one of the officers of one of the Chin militant groups, whose camps are being raided by the ZRA, the Zomi Revolutionary Army. It was very recent. It was in the news also, even in local newspaper also, that two of the Chin militant camps, those militants who are waging or kind of fighting against the military junta of Myanmar, two of the camps has been destroyed or raided or being attacked or being looted by the ZRA cadres groups. And one of the officials of that Chin militant groups who fled or kind of who escaped from the scene has reported that since 1993 to 1995, around 1995, the Indian government has used the ZRA and several Kuki militants as BSF of India to protect the boundary of India and Myanmar. It is being reported. So it is quite obvious now that the government of India has, up to some extent, used the Kuki militant groups as their mercenaries to work in coordination with the Indian military personnel and use them in several other counter-insurgency measures and several other, kind of illicit activities which the government of India don't want to officially carry out. So then what happens? Because of the friendly relations, because of the understanding that has come up between the government of India's its military security forces and the Kuki militant groups, one of the key leaders of the Kuki militants who are in suspension of operations, the chairman of ZRA, Mr. Thanglian Paubuite, he is a Myanmar national. He was an elected MP in Myanmar parliament in the year 1993. Later on, he entered India illegally, became a citizen of India in 1995, even holds an Indian passport, plots a new militant organizations called Zomi Revolutionary Organizations. And in the following years, had a political dialogue with the government of India officially and become one of the key leaders of the Kuki militant groups who are working for the government of India. This is another key aspect. Then what happens? Taking the due advantage of these situations, as Mr. Thanglianpao Guite is a citizen born and brought up, become a politician in Myanmar, he understands the value of narco economy. He understands the power of narco economy. He understands and he has access to the institutions, to the establishments, to the networks, to the connections related with narco terror activities in Myanmar, in the Shan state, which is the epicenter of the Dan Golden Triangle. And as he has left Myanmar and entered in the territory of Manipur, he started bringing in the technology, the idea, the resources, and even the threat link or the threat route of this drug trafficking network. He successively brought in all these technologies and informations in Manipur and started operating since then, since the time they have started signing a peace agreement with the government of India. Then what happens on ground? The Assam Rifles, who are responsible for the security of the Indo-Myanmar boundary, international boundary, the Assam Rifles has been assigned to take control and take care and secure the international boundary between Myanmar and India, particularly in Manipur sector. And as it is around 398 kilometers, the Assam Rifles were deployed and manned only in the two roads which connects with the Myanmar. All the other remaining areas remain completely porous, and there isn't any question of security check, any question of sanitizing the area from infiltrators from time to time. There isn't any sort of such activities being carried out. And as we all know that the very deal which was brought in by the Assam Rifles, the very SoO agreement, and because of that, the Assam Rifle got access and coordinated with all the Kuki militant leaders and their camps from time to time, and they have been continuously engaging in that. One very unfortunate incident, which I have to tell everyone, it shows that they have been, too intimate with the armed militant groups of the Kukis, who are indulging in various narco terror activities. As they become so intimate, some of the officers of the Assam Rifles were also indulging in illicit drug trafficking activities. We might have had heard of Mr. Colonel Ajay Chowdhury, who was arrested and seized with drugs worth 6 to 7 crore from Palel. And he was, at that time, he was the PRO of the Assam Rifles. He was a public relation officer. And he was in the rank of colonel. So this cannot be simply considered as one stray incident. How could a military officer, a decorated military officer, come in contact with drug traffickers, come in contact with drug traders, and he himself started carrying drugs? And how did the government India respond to that? When the people of Manipur started doubting the integrity and the sincerity of the attitude and the activities carried out by the central security forces, the whole media community in the mainstream India and the retired officers of the Indian military personnel fall tooth and nail to defend. But when such incident had happened, nobody come to speak out. There was only one court martial above him, and we really don't know how it went and how it ended. So it is quite obvious that there are certain elements. We cannot blame the whole Indian Army organizations, but those officials, in average, many of the officials who are posted and deployed in Kuki militant operated areas, they definitely had access and informations of all the illicit, illegal activities carried out by the Kuki militants in terms of narco-terrorism. So this has to be acknowledged, and befitting action, legal action, political action must be taken up by the government of India since long time back. But they never care to do that. Even today, they fail to acknowledge officially that there is certain element of narco-terrorism. Till that, what we have seen is, as per the Home Minister's statement, as per the External Affairs Minister's recent statement, and as per several other military officers, Indian military officers' statement, the best they recognize till that, they acknowledge till that, is that cross-border movement of immigrants, and the recent one is cross-border terror activities, waging war against the Indian Union to break the integrity of the India. This is what they acknowledge till that. But no, this is also not the core issue. The core issue is narco-terror network, narco-terror activities, and establishment, institutionalizing of narco-terror, institutions. This is what the government of India needs to recognize now. Now, let me come to why I am saying narco-terror, institutionalization of narco-terror activities. Since the signing of the agreement, all Kuki militants are free to, carry out any sort of movement. Then they have started extortions openly from public, from the national highways, from several government offices, from contract works, any sort of, activities, economic activities. They have openly carried out extortions, kidnappings, interfering in state administrative affairs. Then they become so resourceful, they become so powerful. At the time of the signing of the agreement, at the very first instance, the total number of cadres registered, numbers around 2,170. And this 2,170 are represented by almost, I think, 19 groups, 19 Kuki militant groups. I think 7 or 8 of them belongs to the UPF, and the remaining belongs to the KNO. UPF and KNO is the two umbrella body that signs the agreement. So if you divide 2,170 cadres by 19 groups, one group's comprise around hardly 140 or 50 cadres. So is that even an organization where the government of India should make a deal and carry out political dialogue? No. It's too insignificant in a number to deal with. It's more or less like a gang. It's more or less like a, armed group gang. 150 cadres cannot be an organized insurgent or revolutionary organizations. But the government of India has lifted to carry out a tripartite talk. And even knowing that some of the leaders are from Myanmar nationals. So there is a big mystery to the side of the government of India, what is their real intention is. That is why I say in the beginning that the kind of peace talk carried out between the NSNIM and the government of India, and the kind of peace talk which is being carried out with the SoO militants, the Kuki militants, and the government of India, the intention of the government of India is very bad when it comes to the agreement between the Kuki militants and the government of India. So everyone knows that every designated camps of the Kuki militant groups are being accompanied by one Assam Rifles or Indian military camps. It's adjacent to each other. When you look at the Sugnu Sero camps, the so-called UKLF Nazaret camp is just few hundred meters away from the 39 Assam Rifles camps. The SoO camps in the Kangpokpi area is also very much adjacent to the Laimokong camps. The SoO camps in Churachandpur is also very much adjacent to the Assam Rifle camps. So they are, what do you say, living there as a neighborhood. Therefore, Assam Rifles and several other military intelligence knows that the Kuki militants are indulging in this massive opium poppy cultivations in the hill areas of Manipur. And they have been knowing it for not just recent time, not just in recent times. They have been knowing it for past 10-20 years. But they never care to expose it. They never care to, report it. They never care to control it. They never care to, destroy those things. Why is that so? If we look at the records of that Ajay Chowdhury's Colonel Ajay Chowdhury's involvement in drug trafficking, then we can also assume that they must be part of the business. Those officers who were posted in that time or during this time also, if they are not opposing or if they are not taking immediate necessary actions against the illegal plantations of opium poppy in the hill areas of Manipur, destroying the lush green forests of the hill areas of Manipur, then we can also assume that they must be also sharing some profits. Otherwise, they are the security forces of the nation. They have every right to intervene. They have every right to control it. Or they have every right to inform to the state government and take immediate actions with a joint operation with the state forces and the concerned departments of the narcotic affairs. Why didn't they do that? When I raised this question personally with the top officials of the Assam Rifles, when we had a chance to have an interaction, top officials, not higher than the rank of brigadiers, what did they say to me? What is their response? They say, we don't have the official orders or jurisdiction to take care of that poppy cultivations, to destroy it, to take action against those poppy cultivations. That is the response we got. Then I said, then what about the extortions in the highways openly, issuing receipt, cash receipt? What about that? Then they asked me to identify the spot, which was ridiculous. So as per my experience, as well as the information that we have till today, we cannot simply rule out that the Indian Army and the Indian intelligence and military officials do not have any information on widespread opium cultivation that has expanded in recent times in a massive scale. They cannot simply deny that. They cannot, turn a blind eye on that. Number 2 point, because of this suspension of operation agreement, there is a two-way strategy carried out by the Indian government. Number one, they also allow the movement of Myanmar nationals inside the Indian territory without undergoing due procedures, unofficially. They have let hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants from across the border and let them settle and scattered in the hill areas, especially in the borderland areas of Manipur. They knows it. There is a PDF camp in New Gampazol area of Chandel district. When the cabinet subcommittee headed by Minister Lepao Haukip, he is the chairman, including the education minister and Mr. Awangbo Nyumai, who is the, I think, forest minister or something. When they all went to visit the disputed site in Tengnopal district, in Gampazol area, all the illegal immigrants who fled inside the Manipur territory, they were all settling in well-built cottages and houses, not in shelter camps. Who built those houses? And the cabinet subcommittee who visited there advised the people to stay in shelter camps, where shelter camps will be, built up and they will be registered, biometrics will be taken up, and they will be, given settlement until and unless normalcy restored in the Myanmar region. Those people opposed that advice of the ministers of the government of Manipur. And no legal action, no action was taken up. So it is quite obvious the Kuki militants don't fear the security forces because the government of India has already given them a legal protection in the name of suspension of operation. It is a legal protection and legitimize their existence, their illicit existence in the territory of Manipur. And because of that immunity which the Kuki militants enjoy, they interfered in all the administrative affairs. Those immigrants who came in from across the border were being encouraged to make Aadhaar cards, to make enlist in the voter list, advise their village chief to give recognitions of their domicile in the particular villages. Once you got the Aadhaar card, then the voter ID card, and being given a recognition by the village chief, on the next day, you become the scheduled tribe of Manipur under the nomenclature of Kuki scheduled tribe communities. And once you get that scheduled tribe certificates, the Constitution of India is waiting to give him all the protections, all the privilege, and all the rights, even immunity from the indigenous Meiteis and the Nagas. This is the kind of legal loopholes which we have and which we have been suffering or impacting from the last 20 years. It's not from recent times. So just imagine 100 to 200 people becoming the citizen of Manipur as a scheduled tribe from across the border every month. Continuously for past 20 years. What could be this? What could be the impact given to the demographic equations, demographic balance that we had for the past 2000 years? What could be the impact? The state government has already identified, I think subject to corrections, but I think 122,000 false voters IDs. Majority of them were from the Kuki communities, from the electoral list. It was identified. I think the state government has already issued a press statement in the past. Therefore, now the state government don't know, we don't know, nobody knows what is the total number of Kuki migrations that had happened in the past 20 years and how many of them have become the citizen of India illegally without undergoing the due procedures, and of which many of them are in the suspect list, and some of the prominent figures has also been come out in public, like Professor Kamkwan Swan, the so-called professor in Hyderabad universities. He was enrolled in the voter list of one of the constituencies in Churachandpur in 2005 or 7, when he attained the age of 27, and his mother or father was not in the voter list. Is that even possible? How did one individual registered in the voter list at the age of 27 without having any lineage of his parents in the voter list? So all this, and the chairman of the ZRA, Mr. Thanglian Pao himself, the Ministry of Home Affairs has issued a letter, I have the copy with me, written to the government of Manipur in 2019, 4th June or somewhere, seeking clarification on the identity of Thanglian Pao Guite, the chairman of ZRA, how he became the citizen of India when he was an elected MP in 1993, and he became a citizen of India in 1995, and he even holding an Indian passport. How is that possible? What due procedures he applied to become the citizen of India like that? That query has been already sent, the letter from the Home Ministry to the Government of India, Manipur, in 2019. But the irony is, how could that leader brought into a political dialogue, a ceasefire negotiation, a suspension of operation agreement with the Government of India in 2008? In 2008, without even checking the credentials, the identity of the leader of the organizations. How did the intelligence of the India fail? I think earlier I have mentioned 1998 regarding this suspension operation. I think that's wrong. It should be 2008. So how did someone from across the border, who is a national of a different country, sovereign country, carrying out armed movement inside the Indian territory, being taken on board to have a political dialogue with the government of India? So it is quite becoming obvious, more and more obvious, that the government of India must have done it deliberately. They must have done it intentionally. Otherwise, it should be considered as an act of aggression. A foreign national holding up arms and carrying out armed movement inside the sovereign territory of India should be considered as an external aggression. But why did the government of India brought that person inside the political negotiation and brought him to New Delhi and sign an agreement? This is the question we need to ask to the government of India now, and they have to answer it. So coming to the concluding part of this topic and my presentation, I think I have used more time than the time slot given to me. Coming to the recent crisis that we experienced from 3rd of May, you please look into the 3 very important aspects, which is the key driver of this conflict, and it will give us so many different senses as to why and how it had happened. The government of Manipur has initiated 3 very important initiatives to control and to resolve some of the important problems that we are facing. Number 1 is the war on drugs campaigns initiated by the government of Manipur in 2017, I think. Another one is the identification and detection of illegal immigrants and the plan for carrying out NRC and the constitution of the Manipur State Population Commission. And the last one is the protection of reserve forests, eviction and controlling of encroachment in the forest areas. These very 3 initiatives of the government of Manipur has given a big impact. When the eviction was carried out, Muslims and the Meitei Pangal and the Meitei were the worst affected, because the number of houses being evicted by the State Forest Department, Muslim is the highest and Meitei is the second, I think, and the so-called Kuki was the third. Hardly around 59 houses were evicted for the Kukis, whereas around 106 of the Meitei Pangal and somewhere 40s or 50s of the Meiteis and some 30s of the 20 to 30 of the Nagas were all evicted. But it is only the Kuki who had to react in such a wide scale. So that very 3 initiatives, eviction of encroachment in the forest areas, the war on drugs campaign with massive destruction on the poppy farms and seizure of huge consignment of illicit drug traffic from across the borders, drugs worth 7,887 crores are being seized and arrested by the government in the past 5 years. And it is the value of only the seized and arrested drugs, 7,887 crores. So it has given a big blow to the drug cartels, to the narco-terrorist groups. And another one is the detection and detention of illegal immigrants, which the state government has already started identifying 2,187 illegal immigrants detected, another 718 even during the this conflict time, and before that also. And we also need to have a retrospective effect of that, detection and identification of illegal immigrants, because as I told you earlier, that they have been indulging in this backdoor registration and becoming the citizen of India by huge population of Kuki immigrants from across the border. So we need a retrospective effect of the very initiative taken up by the government in identifying and detecting the illegal immigrants. So what happens? Those primary actors who are planning for planting populations inside the Manipur, they have been doing that. When the first census detected in around 1971 and 2, the Kuki community had only 2 legislators in the state assembly. And now they are at par with the Nagas. It shows that the Nagas has a natural growth of populations, whereas the Kuki had a unnatural growth of population, and they have controlled and dominated certain areas over the past couple of decades, and they have captured that assembly seats. For example, the Kangpokpi assembly constituencies. The Kangpokpi assembly constituency is an unreserved seat. It's not an ST reserved seat. But today, it is more or less become like a de facto Kuki assembly constituencies, because they had overwhelmingly, dominated and so how did that unnatural growth of population happens? That is where, when the state government initiated the identification and detection of illegal immigrants with a retrospective effect, and the NRC demand by the Nagas and the Meiteis, it is going to give a big blow and a big exposure to their continuous activities of illegal registration and conversion of Indian citizenships. So those primary actors and leaders, they have no option to fight or challenge this very initiative of the state government in any form of available legal provisions. The state government cannot go to the court, the Kuki leaders, the Kuki groups, the Kuki CSOs, or the Kuki intellectuals, or any Kuki people cannot go to the court and challenge to defend the encroachment in the reserve forest areas. Impossible. And they cannot go to challenge the plantation of poppies in the hill areas. They cannot go to the court and challenge their massive deforestations, which is being restricted by the government of Manipur. And they also cannot go to the government and challenge the state government's initiative to identify illegal immigrants, to cross-check the identity of every Kuki citizens who are enjoying the ST status in Manipur, how they become the citizen of Manipur, how they become the citizen of India, what is their antecedents, since when they become the citizen of India. So every citizen, every government has the right to check and balance the identity of every citizens. So that is why the so-called ITLF spokesperson, when he gave an interview at a national TV channel, they openly say that they are against NRC. But the ridiculous part is the interviewer of that TV channel, he don't even care to ask the spokesperson, why are you against NRC? NRC is an exercise to register yourself as a citizen of India. Why are you against NRC? The interviewer, the Indian media interviewer, don't even care to ask that question to him. So these very three initiatives, as they have no option, no means, no any measures to defend it or oppose it, their only last option remains is nothing but to create a situation, to create a circumstances where the government of India and the state government can be compelled to take certain political decisions which can override that very three initiative of the state government. Like the demand for separate administration, which they hurriedly, which their elected legislators hurriedly went in the second week of May to New Delhi and submit a demand for a separate administration signed by all the 10 Kuki MLAs. They were so hurriedly, they were so hurriedly rushing to the center government and demanding for separate administration. Why? Because if you got a separate administration, then the state government won't have any further jurisdiction to check their illegal immigrations, check their encroachment in the forest areas, check their illicit poppy cultivations, because that territory which they identify as a Kuki dominated districts and areas will be falling under that jurisdiction of their separate administration, and they will be very convenient to establish a full-fledged narco terror state in Manipur. That is their ultimate dream, and that is why, in the name of Meitei's demand for scheduled tribe, they carried out a protest rally, peaceful rally, which they say, and in the name of that peaceful rally, right from the first hour of the rally, they started torching down all the forest offices in Churachandpur area, because they want to delete the records of those villages who has encroached inside the forest areas and established. And after that, they hurriedly travel around 13 kilometers to the nearest Meitei villages, and they know that if they attack Meitei villages, Meiteis will retaliate them, and it will be thrice the impact which they target, which they attack. Because Meitei are larger in size and larger in population and larger in power, they will definitely retaliate to us, and many of their Kuki civilians, including several other communities like Mar, Baifei, Paite, everyone will be also fall victim to the collateral damages carried out by the retaliation by the Meitei forces. And there they will consolidate all the communities of the Kuki, so-called Kuki and other Jaw communities, and they will create a situation where they will play the victim cards that Meitei Hindu majority has targeted the minority tribal Christians, and therefore we are now geographically separated, physically separated, and it is now only left for the separation of administratively, and that is what they have been doing. That every spokesperson from their side do that, so that they can take a political decision to overcome those three initiatives of the state government. So I hope this very fact and situations will help our viewers in this group in today's talk series to have a much more clearer vision, and we can apply our common sense and logic, and we can come up with our own ideas of suggestions and policies as to how we fight the recent conflict. It is not just those Kuki militant mercenaries hired and used by the government of India. Therefore, I think the government of India or the Ministry of Home Affairs is also somewhere responsible and involved in this crisis, and we have to have a very clear discussion at the level of the Government of India. And I, in my personal capacity and in the capacity of COCOMI, has also conveyed all these facts and figures and the situations and the course of events that has taken place over the past few months, and their agenda and their policy, the clandestine policy which they carried out. We have already spoken to the responsible officials and concerned people in the New Delhi, and we are waiting for them to come up with some visible and prompt action, and to distance themselves away from what they have committed in the past, and take a chance to rectify themselves and create a conducive atmosphere where we can start rebuilding the kind of Manipur that we had over the past 2,000 years, where every ethnic minorities and community has a right to exercise their liberties, their freedom of religion, their freedom of coexisting with the larger Meitei communities. The Meitei community had never forced any community to assimilate with the Meiteis. We have given enough liberty and privilege to every ethnic minorities in the state. That is why we have been coexisting for the past 2,000 years without any problem. But today, when we have a migrant population with force and resources capable enough to wage a war against the Meitei community, every ethnic minority communities like the Aimol, the Chiru, the Chothe, the Maring, the Kom, they all are having a serious impact because of the new emerging immigrant populations. Therefore, we all need to understand the role and responsibilities of the Meitei in maintaining the peaceful coexistence of Manipur and ethnic harmony. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Athouba, as enlightening talk given by you. Thank you very much for your valuable insights. So we'll just quickly put only 2 or 3 questions. There are many questions, but then given the situation, we'll cut down. So I'll just pick up 1 or 2 questions, and so I just ask my senior vice president and president to put a few remarks, maybe 2 minutes, and I'll just put 2 minutes from my side. As I just want to quote from the one interview given by General Secretary Federation of COCOMI. He's telling Kuki was telling like Kuki is a nomadic tribe, and so they have no permanent place. They have no permanent homeland. So how can they demand separate administration? It's a very illogical demand. So it's very interesting statement given by the very well General Secretary of this Federation of COCOMI. Please be noted to all the fellow Meitei academicians attending this webinar. Yeah, quite rightly you said SoO is the objective of SoO is to counter insurgency and under the protection of President of India under Article 371C, they want more autonomy. So, but while doing so, because of their unlawful activities, we have a lot of other ill effects like changing the demography and so on. So these are the issues. I don't know. How we are going to tackle this. Because they are well protected under 371C. The tribal rights and tribal interests. So it's a long war, I suppose. So we have to be helping. For whatever we can do from the scientific and the academic communities. So we like to be associated with COCOMI. Whoever. So you feel that we can be of some use. Our kind of ideas and concept. So we'll be very happy to be supporting in this direction. How we can resolve this issue of SoO, because as you know, it is very complicated, as you rightly pointed out. I just quickly, I just request our president and the vice president, Huza AK and Huza Ranjan, to give you words. Then we just quickly switch on the question hour session, and then he doesn't have much time. Hardly we have 30 minutes from now. So over to you, Huza.
Is it to me, Subindra?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Oja Athouba. You have given a very nice presentation explaining all the intricacies of the current situation, particularly with respect to suspension of operation agreement. And I was very carefully and very attentively listening your talk, and I have some 2-3 points to share with you, and as a compliment to whatever you have said. And it is very much understood that the so-called SoO, the suspension of operations, the objective may be nice, it may be sugar coated, but intent is totally different. Intent is totally hidden. This is understood by everybody, every citizen of Manipur. It is well understood. It's very unfortunate. The second point is about the drug angle. The issue of drug abuse, which have been happening in our state for a long time, in the early 80s, 90s, etc. Many of our youths, irrespective of ethnic lines, whether it's the Meiteis, whether it is the tribals or whatever it is, many youths have been disappear. Many youths have been afflicted with this drug, and many of the youths would have been the future, the citizens of our state have already gone, and when they have already disappeared, and it is very unfortunate. And this is the most dangerous things. Unless and until we have a full control on this abuse of drugs, probably it is not only going to affect the Manipur, it is going to affect the whole country. What happened to Punjab and other states, even in the Gujarat, our Prime Minister had given a commitment to all the mothers of the nation that I will ensure that no more tears should roll down from your face, and I will ensure that all the use of the country will make to stop the use of this drug abuse. And hopefully that also should be true for our state. And third point I want to make is that though I am not a very expert and I am not a social scientist, everybody knows who grew this Taliban in Afghanistan, who is the product of Taliban in Afghanistan, and which country fell in Afghanistan. It is a history. Everybody knows it. So history should not be repeated in India again by any government which are ruling in the central government. This is the one point I want to convey to all fellow citizens of the country. And lastly, I just want to make one point that particularly the current regiment, the current government is very intelligent, they are very competent, they are capable, they know each and everything, and probably whatever the wrong policies that was made, that was followed decades together, probably it will take time to correct all those wrong policies. Probably, let us hope that the current regime government will correct and will undo all those mistakes committed in the past decades, so that the past glory of our Sanalebak Imam model in Manipur will be restored again. And with these few points, I will pass on to Oda Subendra, please. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you for nice comment and very constructive. Now I pass on the mic to was that AK? So to put a few words. AK, you are there?
Yeah, I'm hearing. Okay, thank you,
Yeah, please.
Dr. Savindra. Yeah, for inviting me to say a few words about today's lecture series. Really, I'm very grateful to hear the very wonderful and the very nicely explained by the Dr. Athouba. So he explained everything what we have already confused or what we have known earlier. So I can say from now, all of, including our PIMSAA members and other invitees, can understand what Indian government and the Manipur governments are doing under the umbrella of SoO. And in fact, the SoO did in the right direction, but wrongly they did some in the wrong direction. That means they thought it will be better, but that is not the right direction. So what I think is that is a really totally they disrupt the environment, our communities, everything is there. So with this few words, I like to thank again Dr. Athouba for his very wonderful lecture. And
Okay, thank you, Uza K. And now, Uza Athouba, we have a few questions from the public. I just selected only one or two because of the limited time you have. Yeah, the central government understands that Kuki militants under SoO were involved in atrocities against the Meitei communities. Then why the center is reluctant to suspend this agreement, even though Manipur government and several CSOs in Manipur are demanding for that to doing so. So your comment on that, please.
That is one important question that we have been asking to the central government. We have raised this to the Union Home Minister. We have raised this to the interlocutor of the Naga Peace Talk, Mr. A.K. Mishra. We have launched this question to the Director of Intelligence Bureau, Mr. Tapan Kumar Deka. We have launched this question to several other, even including the Chief Minister of Manipur and many other political leaders as well. I think what we suspect is that what we have been, suspecting and assuming for the past so many time, which I shared today also, it must be true. So they must have had some compelling situations, the government of India, where they cannot simply, walk out of the agreement they had, because the so-called Kuki militants must have also bargained at certain extent, because they cannot be taking their life risk to fight with other counterinsurgency operations and doing that. So they must have certain negotiations. They must have bargained certain thing, which the government of India must have also agreed it up to certain extent.
Yeah.
So if they start working out now, they might fear that the Kuki militants might expose their dirty design of politics. So that could be one fear, I suspect. Another one is I don't know. I have also another feeling that, as per the Meitei communities, the Meitei insurgent groups are yet to come into any form of dialogue or any form of understanding or negotiations with the government of India. And as for now, the Kukis seems to be more loyal, more more friendly, and therefore their threat must be considered as threat to the Indian sovereignty, and the Indian state must be they must have considered that Meiteis and the Meitei insurgents are the real threat. Kukis are already in terms with us. So even if some Meiteis are falling victim to the Kuki atrocities, we can tolerate that. We can just what do you say? We can just avoid it for some time, because up till now Kukis are being so loyal to us, so we can just use them for some time more. That could also be one reason. So we also need to check the character of particularly the ZRA, because ZRA is a very very clever armed groups. When they cross the international border and enter Myanmar, they are the most loyal militant groups of the military junta, and they are fighting for the military junta against those militant groups who are fighting for democracy against the military junta. Okay, when they enter in the Indian territory again, they are so loyal and friend to the Indian government, and they fight for the Indian government against those groups who are against the Indian government. But when we look at the Indian perspective, Indian government's perspective, the Indian government is trying to maintain political diplomatic friendly relations with the military junta, at the same time, the Indian military are also giving a support, an unofficial support to the militant groups who are waging war for democracy against the military junta. For example, PDF. The Assam Rifles support PDF on ground, whereas the Indian government support ZRA, who are fighting against the PDF. I hope we understand the equations.
Yeah.
The ZRA is fighting inside at the sideline with the Myanmar military junta against the PDF. That ZRA is a friend of India government, whereas militarily the Indian forces are again supporting the PDF, and the ZRA, which the Indian government support, is fighting the PDF again. So it amounts to certain aspect of geopolitical issues which can be discussed at length on another debate. The China, Myanmar, India, and the US factor. And the natural resource extraction factors and its ramification to geopolitics of the region. So this need to be discussed at different level. But for now, the basic understanding that we must have is India's dubious character in handling the diplomacy with military junta, Myanmar government, and the militant groups. And also the dubious character of the Indian policy towards the Meitei civilian, Meitei insurgencies, and the Kuki militants. This has to be thoroughly discussed. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Athouba. Actually, yeah, you rightly said maybe India government may also like to have SoO-like agreement with the Meitei insurgents. You know, maybe they are they're instigating to do that. Probably this is the one factor. I hope.
Yeah, but
second.
yeah, but as per my understanding, that is not going to happen. It had never happened. It had never happened, and that's not going to happen. And because of that, the government of India cannot put the Meitei civilian at stake. That's our question. That's our that's our point.
Yeah, it's almost 5 months now, and it's almost 5 months.
If they want to fight the Meitei insurgent groups, they do it at their own, with the insurgents. But why are you putting the life and properties of Meitei civilians, the children, the old ladies, everyone at stake?
Most affected is innocent farmers and the daily wage worker, and so quickly we have to have more questions, and so I just want to cover one or two before we give you the completing remarks from our organizing committee and also board of things. So just one or two questions I'll just take up, and you also mentioned in your lecture about why this kind of agreement, when the central force rarely have encounter or gunfight with these Kuki militants. But then why do on this, please?
I think I already said, I think in my, I will simplify it further. They only do that because they want to give a legal protection to certain mercenaries groups who will be used in counter-insurgency operations towards several other insurgent groups in Manipur. And this could be the only intention of the government of India, giving legal protection to certain mercenary groups to fight for them.
Last questions I will take up, and then we'll conclude with the concluding remarks. What role the local communities and the civil society organizations will play in mediating and addressing this Kuki issue? How can their involvement be leveraged for conflict resolution? How we can this is a kind of roadmap. What we can do in simpler word. Your remark on this. What we can do.
as per my understanding, I think for now, the things has too complicated now. Things has been too complicated, and there are majority of the problem has to be resolved through political means, through administrative means, and through military means.
Yeah.
In the recent conflict that we are having today, majority, almost 70 to 80% of the issues has to be resolved through political, military, and this thing, administrative means. So for that, we people, the civilians, can best do is to pursue the responsible government, the responsible people, the responsible leaders to act accordingly. Because we cannot take the laws on our own hand. We are civilians. We cannot use the institution. We cannot do anything. Hardly we can do is we can raise our voice, raise our grievances, give them certain directions, and make the institution work.
Yeah.
So that is the best for now, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Athouba. Finally, I request our committee executive member, Rina, to give final concluding remarks, give vote of thanks. Dr. Rina, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. On the behalf of PIMMSAA, all the members of the PIMMSAA, I am glad to express a vote of thanks. A special thanks to our speaker, Mr. Khuraijam Athouba, for accepting our invitation and sharing the insights and perspectives on the SoO agreement. It truly enlightened our mind. So I want to thank the speaker for sharing the insights and the perspectives of this issue. And I want to thank our President, Dr. Ranjan Kumar Khaidem, for guiding us and supporting us, and all the other team members of the PIMMSAA who are working very hard, and for the grand success of this talk show. And thanks to all the participants who spent time with us. Your participation and interaction helps us in making the event grand successful. Saying this, I want to close the event for today. Thank you all once again.
Thank you. Thank you.